Hello, Duelists. Welcome back to Old Format Yu-Gi-Oh! Today we have another tournament/format review, and we are covering Wind-Up Format, aka YCS Providence, October 2012 format. It's a pretty diverse format. I've seen a lot of people, especially a YouTuber called Who Needs Meta, who's pretty popular in the old format scene, call it the Edison of XYZs, or XYZs of Edison format. You get the idea. And as for the decks that are primarily played, you can see Wind-Ups, Chaos Dragons, Dino Rabbit, Agents, Dark Worlds, and Machina Girgia. Also, if we go into the actual YCS that happened, we could see more Girgia, Chaos Zombies, Agents. Agents were a big one. Grave Keepers, Frog Monarchs, a Monster Mash list, which is very interesting. Fish OTK. It's very diverse, as you can see, and a lot of people love it for that. If we go to the most recent event, this is the one that I partook in, Yu-Gi-Oh! Retro Series 55. The winner was Hydro Pump. Congratulations to him. We had Dark Worlds, Wind-Ups, Chaos Dragons, Machina Girgia, Gladiator Beast, Dino Rabbit, and Wind-Ups. Gladiator Beast was a bit of a surprising one. Although, ironically, if we go back to the actual YCS Providence, you'll see this list here. A 9th place Gladiator Beast finish, which is actually my friend Brad, who's going to be in the future Edison format tournament, and Lord knows that he'll be on Gladiator Beasts. Also, if you're here just for that, Edison format tournament will be posted today at 5, and it'll continue updating daily for about a month, give or take, because there's a lot of matches. So I hope you're all excited for that. Now, you might notice that there's a top 8 here, and I am not in it. And out of 39 players, as you could tell by the thumbnail, I got 22nd, so not my best accomplishment compared to the Reaper format tournament that was hosted before this. But let's talk a little bit about what I played. I decided to go with Hieratics, and my main reasoning for this was I always have a theory about Yu-Gi-Oh! That in hindsight, Upstart Goblins, Card Ds, Max Cs, One Day Apiece especially, all the good draw cards are really, really good, and I think they're amazing. And I was talking with my friend Anthony, who's a pretty good deck builder, about like, hey, what list can play all of these? And my original plan was to play Inzectors, and you actually might see a video on the channel about me playing that deck in some ranked matches. But I decided to go with Hieratics, which were another one that we didn't think of at first. And the list was okay. I did not like it that much. I messed up a lot of combos from lack of practice. That's fine on my end. But I've also determined that I do not think that is the best choice for this kind of format. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through this video. But for now, let's go through the deck. We had 3 Card D, which is great for when you're not trying to OTK or going turn 1. 3 Effect Veiler helps stop Shockmaster from Windups, which is a huge threat. Windups can't really hand loop you anymore, but they do have Shockmaster, which is very threatening. 3 Birdman, which is needed for a lot of the OTKs you can pull off. 3 Aset, 3 Nebthet, 3 Sue, 3 Tefnuit makes up our Hieratic engine. Pretty simple. We play 1 Kokimero Drago, which is a way to stop Gores, and if you super combo off, you can use a Tum to basically bring out Drago, and although it's a 0/0, it still has its effect, so your opponent can't drop Gores or Trag on you. We have 3 Max C, which basically gives us some free advantage every now and then, draw more cards into our engine. 1 Red MD, because sadly it's at 1. And we have our 3 normals, Curse of Dragon, Lesser Dragon number 2, and a Wattail Dragon. Not much to say about those. We played 3 Wingbeat of Giant Dragon, so our theory behind this was, if we're just sitting there drawing cards sitting on 1 day apiece, our opponents are going to have more cards, and if they're playing a back row deck, they're going to have more back row, so why not just chuck in 3 Wingbeat, and also Heavy Storm. Wingbeat in this deck is pretty free, actually, because, where are they? Tefnuit, mainly? Because Tefnuit can be special summoned like a Cyber Dragon. If your opponent controls a monster and you don't, you special him, and you lose nothing if they don't stop it. Then you drop Wingbeat, and the opponent is usually sad at that point. Next, we have 2 Hieratic Seal Convocation. It's just a Rhoda for the deck. 1 Monster Reborn. 3 One Day of Peace. This card was actually pretty good. I mean, it stalls you a turn, it draws you closer to your engine, it's wonderful. This card was put to 1 for a reason. And lastly, a 2 Potted Duality to round it out. As for the side deck, we have Gores for the very quick matchups, such as Windups and Chaos Dragons. They're very scary agents too, honestly, if I played against them. Dark Hole for the same matchups. Prohibition was for anything that I found kind of annoying. Like, I was thinking Dark Worlds, if you can call Gates or Snow, it's actually very devastating to the deck. 3 Smash and Ground against Agents or Chaos Dragons, because they're very big. Triple Royal Decree, just because, I mean, any trap deck is kind of annoying to this deck, so why not chuck in 3 Decree? 2 Stygian Dirge. This was against decks like Girgia and Windups. Windups can play around it a little bit, because they play rank 3, 4s, and 5s, but against Girgia, this shuts them down pretty hard, honestly. And lastly, 2 Torrential for similar matchups that can OTK. Keeping in mind the sideboard of kind of decrees, at least, even before that when you have the 3 Wing Beat and the Heavy Storm, the deck is kind of made to play against back row decks, in my opinion, where you can just blow their board and then OTK them. However, against other aggro decks, sometimes you can't set up quickly, and then you could just end up dying, which is pretty bad. We'll go through the extra deck real quick. We have Black Rose Dragon, Scrap Dragon, Stardust. These are very rarely made because they kind of have to be made with Birdman. Next, we have Adrius, triple Gaia Charger, triple Atom, makes sense. Exabeetle's interesting because it gets over cards like Zenmaines because it sends to grave, which is pretty cool. We have Force Focus, which is only played for an OTK because it has 2800 attack. Photon Strike Bounds are a great card. Tiras, and wind up Zenmayo. Ironically, sadly, most of these don't get played. It's mainly just the Atoms and the Gaia Chargers, but that's what you do when you play Hieratics. Of note, I believe the majority of this list is based off of Paul Cooper's list, who topped back in 2012 with Hieratics. I don't think he was playing exactly this list. I know we changed the side deck. The main deck I'm not 100% sure on, but either way, I know it's very similar because he's a great deck builder that I remembered from the past, and I saw his list and I'm like, hey, let's just go with this. Why not? So let's get into the matches. I sadly only have 3 of them for you because I actually got the bye round 2, and in round 5, I think it was, or round 4, the replay is corrupt. I can't find it on the duel record history on Dueling Book. I don't know where it is. My opponent doesn't have it, and it's just annoying. So we'll go through what we can. First up, we have Aratos, who actually we played in the Reaper format tournament. I beat him to get into top 8, I believe. Or it might have been to get into top 6. I don't quite remember. So looking at our hand, we open Valor, Cardcar, Nebthet, Luster Dragon number 2, Cursed Dragon, and Wing Beat. Not a bad hand, but 2 blanks is not the greatest. I'm just going to go for Cardcar, draw 2, and I'm just going to pitch a normal. And of course, I draw the 3rd normal, because why wouldn't you? My opponent opens MST, Heavy Storm. We like to see that. Lance, too, honestly, that's funny. Bottomless, and Effect Valor. So I would say that they bricked. Don't even know what they're on yet. I open a Wing Beat, which is pretty good. I'm just going to draw, discard normal. He upstarts into Yugioh Armor, which is not something we want to say. I hit a Duality, which is quite nice. We're going to get the choice of One Day, Cardcar, and Birdman. I'm just going to go with Cardcar to get more cards. The big thing about Hieratics, and I'm going to notice one of the strongest weaknesses of it, is that unless I'm missing something blatantly obvious, and I don't think I am, you need 4 cards to OTK. And right now, we have 1, 2. So we are not there, and we're going to go Cardcar to end up facilitating that. We're going to set a Wing Beat, so we don't have to discard too much. And now I believe we have game if we live a turn, which I think we're going to. He's going to MST our back row. He's going to flip armor. I'm going to Valor it, which I think is the right play. You usually want to Valor the armor because if they have no follow-up, it kind of just sits there in attack position. He's going to special Accelerator, go for a Gear Gaunt, search a Arsenal, and just get in for some damage, which is fine on my end. Now for my turn, he's going to go for another armor. I'm going to proceed to basically try to go for game. So I'm going to Tefnu it, special Nebthet, summon Wattail, Nebthet pop a monster, he Valors, but I still get Tefnu its effect. Mess that up for a second. Bring back another normal, overlay for Atum. Atum go for Red MD, Red MD bring back that. I'm going to go for a Birdman, which is like the real OTK card because you banish Atum and you can make another one. I'm going to combine them to make them level 6, or use a sets effect. If there's a normal monster on board, he can copy its level, and then all Hieratics also copy that level. Go for a Tum, go for a second Nebthet, and here I believe I actually miss lethal. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to check if there was a way to do it, because I had the 4 cards. I think here I messed up somewhere. I'm not quite sure where, now I'm thinking about it. Probably instead of going for the Synchro play. Yeah, okay. So instead of going for the Synchro play immediately, I might have had too many board spaces. What I should have done is just go for another Atum, which I believe was possible, and then later go for a Synchro play, because I would, if I have the board space, I believe I do, I would have Birdman on board and this level 5, which is a level 8, and then you can go Scrap Dragon and pop, that's game. But either way, I attack in, I deal a good amount of damage, and he scoops. It doesn't show it, but I hate how Dueling Book cuts it off, but basically he drew, and it was basically another blank. My opponent's going to open up Armor, Warning, Accelerator, Max C, Arsenal, and Dark Hole. And I'm feeling a bit confident at this point because I'm up a game and I was not expecting to win anything with this. My opponent sets Warning, sets Armor. It's a very strong play. Meanwhile, I open up Duality, a set Duality, Birdman, Reborn, and Convocation. It's a good hand, but a slow hand. I'm going to Duality for Valor because nothing else is really that good. 1 day apiece. I'm not in a rush to try to beat Yugioh, in my opinion. We'll see how that pans out. I'm going to Veil the Armor. He's going to go for Yugioh, just like game 1. Yep, summon the Arsenal. Go for Yugioh. He overlays for Roach, which, as you can imagine, is pretty annoying. And I remember being a bit annoyed by this. I'll talk about it in a bit. So I'm going to get Tefnuit. Now, looking at my hand, I actually can do a lot, which is funny, because I have Tefnuit special, I have Sue's special, I have Reborn, and I have Esset. So I'm thinking maybe I can bait the Roach twice if he misplays. However, I don't believe he does. Yeah. Oh, and he has the warning, so that does not help my case either. So I end up just passing, and that's game. We'll go to game 3. Oh, we have Liv D here in Veracos. Veracos is like a very good player in Edison and this format. I think he's ranked number 1 in wind-up format. Very good player. He plays this very interesting Dragoonity list, which I like a lot. I'm going to open up Red MD, Wingbeat, Monster Reborn, One Day Apiece, Torrential Tribute, and Nebthet. I'm going to set Torrential and pass because this hand does not OTK, and there's nothing worth really setting up turn 1 in my opinion. My opponent opens up Veiler, Max C, Fiendish Mirror Force, and Yugioh Armor. Honestly, when I'm watching the replay, I'm like, yeah, this hand's fine. And then he draws the Yugioh Armor, and I'm like, well, that's probably game. So I top deck Dark Hole. I think that there is merit for just Dark Holing here. My friend Anthony was telling me the same thing. I disagree because I know the big boards he can make. In my big boards, I mean like Exceed and then Steel Swarm Roach, and that's very difficult for my deck to get over, so I decided to hold it. He goes for some Yugioh plays. I have Torrential, so I'm not super worried. He goes for Yugioh. I'm just letting him spin his wheels. I'll Torrential there. Hindsight, I probably should have waited for Accelerator, but I don't know anymore because then he would get it back. I think I made the right play there. I'm going to draw a normal, discard a normal. He summons Accelerator. I take 14, and I'm fine in this position because I could just keep waiting. I have time. I have another Wingbeat. He upstarts into what? Mark II, which is not good for me because now he has a play. Yeah, he's going to go into Yugioh, search Accelerator, and just get in for some damage, which is not ideal for me right now. Because if I'm not mistaken, do I go for 1 day? Yeah, I go for 1 day. Another good bonus for 1 day apiece is that I also play Dark Hole and Torrential and stuff like that, so it's nice to let your opponent build up their board, because you can't take damage, and then you just end up 2 for 1ing them or 3 for 1ing them, depending. My opponent's going to Heavy Storm, I can't do anything. And he's going to end up searching a lot, search Mark II. Mark II goes for Armor, Special Accelerator, he goes for Roach, Zen Means, which I think is pretty strong play, and he has a set warning, and look at his hand too. Like, I mean, the writing's on the wall this game. I'm just going to Dark Hole, get rid of it. I think I just pass because Zen Means has to activate. It's mandatory to pop a card. So he ends up just popping itself. Yugioh is going to get Arsenal back, and he goes for T-King, and that is not game, but it's getting close, because I dropped Gores, and he has the warning. It's a shame. I was actually pretty confident about this game. I wouldn't say super confident, but I think I could have maybe not OTK'd, but Yugioh can't do too much in 1 turn, in my opinion, especially when I've gotten rid of a lot of his resources. Like, he only has 1 Accelerator. So I think if he didn't have that warning and I did get to the next turn, I could have done a lot, actually. So, a bit of a disappointing loss, in my opinion. But we are going to go to, I believe this is round 3, because I got the bye in round 2. I might have gotten it in round 3, I don't quite remember. But we were against Ice Ricer. We both hit him with the GL and HF. You could tell we're men of culture. He's going to end up going first, and he opens up Sanguine, Call of the Haunted, Veiler, Warning, Bottomless, and Mystic Tomato. I don't even quite remember what he's on, but it kind of looks like Inzectors right now. We'll see. Summons Tomato, sets Bottomless. I open up Convocation, Asset, Birdman, Sue, and Max C. I don't know for sure, but I think this is game. Curious if I go for it. Let's see, I go for Tefnuit, he Bottomlesses, and I'm just going to start comboing off anyway. Go for Sue, go for Atum, Red MD, Wattail, go for Birdman. Is this game? No, but it's close. And I end up dropping Max C because he has the Tomato. I wanted to go Scrap Dragon, but I actually had nothing that I could set, which was kind of disappointing. I could have went pop my Wattail, pop his thing, but I honestly don't think that's worth it. I think going for a safer play of Stardust is better. And now I recoup my advantage a lot just by going through these tomatoes. He actually goes into Reaper, which I'm actually kind of worried by because that's not the easiest thing to out, in my opinion, at least from what I could think of at the time. He ends up setting Sanguine, Warning, and Call of the Haunted. At this point, I believe he's on zombies with the Plague and the Spear Reaper. I go for Wingbeat, nuke that back row. Red MD, bring back Sue, tribute for Esset. I'm going to have Esset copy level, go for Atum, Drago, and now I can't special summon Light or Dark, so I'm feeling pretty confident. And I'm just going to start going in for some piercing damage that Gaia Charger does. He's going to search tour guide. Pretty useless right now. Yeah, and he just scoops. I wish it would show the last draw, but what are you going to do? We go to game 2. He's going to draw a Raikou, Reborn, Warning, Torrential Soul Taker. That's an interesting card. And Compulse. I'm guessing this is against the Stardust that I can make, perhaps? Oh, no, it does destroy. I'm not sure what it's for, then. He sets Warning, sets Raikou. I open card, 1 day. Torrential, Wingbeat, and Max C. He lets me card. I draw 2. Probably should have set a bluff like Wingbeat, but I decided not to. I'm not sure why at the time. He ends up setting Compulse. I draw Torrential, go for another card. This time I do set. And this time, thankfully, I draw a normal monster so I could discard that. He's just going to keep adding to the back row, and right now he's in a great position to stop anything I could do. I draw Veiler. I set 1 day. He's going to Raikou into Torrential. I Veiler it. He's going to Compulse it back. Very slow game from Hieratics, because look how far deep I am in the deck with 1 Hieratic. It's actually pretty crazy. He draws a Spy, set Spy. I'm going to discard a normal. Raikou, chain Torrential. And then he is going to set his own Torrential. So now he has 3 cards to stop my Hieratic plays, which is disappointing. I'm going to summon Birdman and just try to get in some damage. I'm reading weakness at this point. I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, he probably doesn't have much, so why not go for it? And then he top decks Cyber Dragon, so my reads mean nothing. Top deck a Sue, which still does nothing because these 2 are the Sue-like Hieratics. I don't think they have a term. I just call them the Sue-like ones because they have to tribute 1, then they special. So on the board, they actually do nothing. I draw a card with 1 day. He will Warning that, which is kind of annoying because I'm kind of stuck here. He's going to go for BLS. He tries to BLS banish my back row, which I thought was kind of funny, which obviously doesn't work. So he ends up taking 2k from the Warning. Oh, he never took the 2k, that's why. We were thinking because of 1 day of peace, but this is a cost. It is not damage. I end up drawing Drago. I'm just going to second 1 day, summon Drago. He bottomlesses. I'm happy to just be burning stuff. And I draw into another Hieratic, so now I can go for it. He's at 100 attack as well. Sadly, I normal summon this, and I'd love to Wingbeat, but I can't because then I have no plays. So I'm going to go for Nebthet. He Warnings, but I will get Wattail Dragon back. I'm going to go for a Wingbeat. He Book-a-Moons it. It still works. However, on board, I'm basically dead. I take 51 here, and he has a Torrential set still, so I'm not feeling too confident. I draw Gores, which is a wonderful top deck after I just took that much damage. And he attacks in for game. Going to game 3. While I'm thinking about it, that game 2 was a bit disappointing. It goes against the theory of what I'm going for, because it's like I play all these draw cards to draw the engine cards, and even if you draw normal R2, it's fine. However, if you draw all the hand traps and all the draw cards, it doesn't work out too well in the end. So, that's what happened. I'm going to open up Nebthet, Heavy, Decree, 1 day, Birdman, and a set. I'm not happy about this combo here, but I left the heavies in with Decree because I figure getting rid of back row is much more important, no matter how I do it, even if I have a dead card. I think I just set Decree. He MSTs immediately. That doesn't make me super happy. And he sets Raikou, and he also opened up Soul Taker, Caius, BLS, and Dark Hole. And at this point, looking at my hand, I believe I have the OTK. So we're going to search Tefnuit. We're going to special. We're going to special for Nebthet. Gonna let it keep going in. You're going to notice I keep doing the thinking face because I'm a bit new. I Nebthet pop his set card. You might notice here that I have royally messed this up. And you might be thinking, how did that possibly happen? Why'd you summon Cursed Dragon and not Luster Dragon number 2? And that's because I am new to Hieratics. And I sided out Luster Dragon number 2. And I'm thinking to myself at the time, like, why would I need it? That doesn't seem useful at all. Meanwhile, in match 1, I had to special both so you could make the Atum. And if I could have made the Atum here, I could have went Red MD, I could have went Birdman, and I could have kept comboing off. So this one is totally on me, and I don't know if I would have won this game, but I probably should have because I would have made Stardust most likely at the end. Instead, I go for Tiras, and looking at his hand, it's very good. He Cyber Dragons, tributes Caius, gets rid of my Tiras, beats over, and at this point I'm just a duck sitting in water, so I can't do much. Sets Plague, and I'm just going to keep drawing cards that don't do anything, I believe. Sets Raikou. I draw 1 day to keep me alive, which is nice. I do get a Convocation, so I have kind of a second combo pop-off turn, but it's nothing compared to what it could have been if I wasn't an idiot. I'm going to go for Atum, go for Red MD effect. I'm going to Birdman. Let's see, Red MD, bring back Wattail, copy levels, go for second Atum. I believe I just bring out a level 5, Sync 8, Stardust. So this should have been turn 1, basically, and I believe I would have another monster as well, which would have been game. So Random D get in. I'm not super out of it yet, I feel. He's going to go for Plague. I'm going to go for Raikou. I think he elects not to pop and just mill, so I can't negate it, I believe. He Mind Controls Stardust. He Dark Holes. Banish a Light and a Dark. We've all seen that one before. And ironically, he tributes it for Caius, which is funny. I was like, what is he doing? And then he Monster Reborns BLS back. So this loss was entirely on my fault. I'm not 100% sure if I had game, but I'm like 95% sure. So, bit disheartening. Alright, at this point I believe we either had the bye or we didn't have the bye, but we did miss a match, and all you have to know is that I lost. I believe it was to Yugioh again, and it was just, someone playing hard back row, and I can't do much about that if I don't draw stuff. So, what are you going to do? Our last game is against Nova, and I am going to win the die roll, which is quite nice. I open Maxi, Heavy, Wingbeat, Tefnuit, and Sue. Not a bad hand, and you'll notice my opponent is on Dark Worlds. I set Heavy. I like the pro set Heavy. Been playing GOAT format a lot lately. He opens Trade-in, Allure, Beige, Dark World Dealings, Double Beige is always interesting. I'm not a fan of that, honestly. I usually just play 1. He goes for Allure, Banish a Beige, Trade-in. Yeah, this guy's popping off already. He's going to summon Beige. Oh yeah, I learned that Grapha does not create a chain, so I don't max C in the end. He activates Gates, doesn't do too much, and sets Dealings, which is going to hurt him because I end up heavying and he just loses a free spell. I'm going to summon card, draw 2. Sadly, I can't do much. It's disappointing, but I just can't right now. Take 27. He sets a skill drain. Annoying card, but not horrible against my deck. I'm going to go for Tefnuit. I'm going to Wingbeat to get rid of it. Special Tefnuit. Go for Sue. Overlay. We've all seen this before. I'm going to go for Convocation for a Nebthet. He's another special summoning one. Go for Cursed Dragon. I go for Adrius just to remove it pretty quickly. And get in for some damage with a Monster Reborn, and Summon Max C is ironically exactly game, which is really funny to me. I thought that was a really cool ending, in my opinion. Going into game 2, my opponent's going to go first, obviously. He opens Brow, Monster Reborn, Drag Down, Upstart, Beige, and Malefic Stardust Dragon. He upstarts into Snow, summon Beige, go for Malefic Stardust, which is just to kill itself, so he can go for Drag Down. I hit the Brow. I feel like you always have to hit the Brow, and the Snow is pretty bad to hit. What is he hitting? Oh, he hits Seal. Very annoying card. He draws Tour Guide, which is great for him. He Dark World Dealings into Grapha, searches a Gates. Things are not looking the best for me. He just goes for Grapha, set Reborn, pass, and I open Heavy again, thankfully, so that's quite nice. I one day, draw a card, they draw a card. I Prohibition Gates of the Dark World, so no more Field Spell is very, very strong against the deck, and he ends up drawing Terraforming. That's kind of funny to me. He Tour Guides, I Veiler, I take damage because I still can't quite do anything. He also sets a Gozen match. Oh, I don't take any damage because of one day. Thank God I remembered then. Now I'll take some damage, though. Draw Nebthet, I go for Drago, attack. Can't do much other than that, though, sadly. He upstarts into Virus, pretty strong card. I take 800 from the Grapha. He viruses 4 spells. He hits my Wingbeat and my Prohibition. And at this point, I think the game spell is a bit out of control. Yeah, he goes for Gates, Grapha, Malefic Stardust. Only Malefic Stardust can attack. I don't think he knew that at the time. But I take the 25, and I draw and I scoop. I wish we could pause it on the hands a bit better, but I know that I didn't have any massive combo. Also, outing Graph at 3k is very difficult. Alright, I'm going to open Decree, Duality, Wingbeat, Birdman, Nebthet, and Card D. Decree I brought in was, it's a little iffy against Dark Worlds, but Viruses and Skill Drain destroy the deck, so I figured I think I need this, especially if I'm going first. I'm going to pot a Duality into a set. Return the others. Card D is debatable if I want to go for more turbo, but I'm just going to set Decree, activate Card, and pass, and I'm happy with these draws so far. I'm going to take 14, I can't really disrupt that, but with an end phase Decree, I'm very happy. He goes for Zen Means. I don't flip the Decree yet, because knowing Dark Worlds, I assume that they're not on counter traps, so I can kind of hold this, so until the moment I really want to use it. But I'm going to go for some light comboing here, and I go for a little combo just so I can kind of out the Zen Means a little bit. I go for Tiras, which was iffy, and then I end up not attacking. I think this play was a misplay. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do there. Honestly, probably just pass. But I go for Tiras, and I'm like, oh, I'll attack, but then Zenmin still pops the card, and he's going to pop my Decree, and I'm going to be unhappy. Or I won't get to activate Prohibition, or I'll just pop that. I probably should have just attacked in, got rid of the 2 materials, and then set double Decree. He pops 1, but I don't care about him popping 1 necessarily. Weird play, but not my best. He dealings, discards Brow, I discard Wingbeat, and he's going to end up setting a lot of traps. He drag downs hits my Decree, and I'm like, thank God I have another one. He's going to activate Skill Drain, which I'm not too happy about. I'm just going to take the damage from this. And I could Decree now, but I'm actually going to try to leave the Skill Drain on board so I can kill Zen Means, but that's not going to happen. So I end up decreeing on the Virus activation, and I one day and pass, or one day card D pass. And this hand's shaping up well. I'm getting a lot of stuff so far. And one day, I'm going to Prohibition Snow. So right now he can't use Gates and he can't use Snow, which is 3 cards in his hand, which is really funny to me. He's going to Allure, Banish Snow, and he's going to end up setting another Virus, but that does not matter to me. I'm going to go Tefnuit into Sue, into Wattail, Atum, bring out Red MD. We've all seen this before at this point. Nebthet, bounce Red MD. Go for Red MD. I'm going to use Nebthet's effect to pop the Grapha because I had an extra Hieratic in hand, and also Grapha's kind of annoying at 2700 to get rid of, with my deck at least. I'm going to go for Stardust. I'm going to get an Atum. I'm going to Convocation for Sue. I'm firing on all cylinders right now with this combo. Exabeetle. I'm going to take his Grapha, go for Gaia Dragon. I had game if I actually used Exabeetle's effect to send a card on the field. So ironically, even in the deck profile, I said I could send Zen Means. I do not do this. I decided to try to beat over and hope that he can't out this board. And realistically, I'm 99% sure he can't out this board, but I had game, so that is blatant misplay on my end. He draws Reborn, and I was going to try to figure out a way out of this. He's going to Dealing into Beige, and he just scoops, knowing that he couldn't really draw anything. He had to draw the Grapha off the Dealings, I think, and then discard it to try to pop a card, but then Stardust just negates. There wasn't really a good way out of this. And sadly, that is where our tournament journey ends. To give my thoughts real quick on the format, I think the format's actually really fun. It's very diverse. However, agents do very well, windups do very well, and that's mostly it. Other things are competitive, but at least from the tournaments that I saw, it's always like windups, agents taking up half the top 8, and then the rest are the rest. It's very diverse in the fact that people play other decks and they can compete, but the top is still the top, in my opinion. I hope that makes a bit of sense. As for my take on Hieratics, pretty much using Paul Cooper's list generally, I think the deck is okay. I think in hindsight, the deck is a lot worse than it was at the current time. Because in the current time, not a lot of people knew what Hieratics did. It caught people off guards. They weren't expecting a Wingbeat, but now it's a bit more expected. I don't agree with, and you'll find this out in a future tournament video for a hat tournament that I'm in, I don't believe that a deck that requires 4 combo pieces to OTK is that amazing. Meanwhile, windups in 2 cards can make a Shockmaster, which isn't an OTK, but it's basically an OTK against some decks. So I'm not too thrilled about how I did. I obviously misplayed a lot, as you've seen watching this video. But all in all, I probably would not play the deck again. My previous run was a lot better. I much prefer playing Rescue Cat and Reaper format. But this deck, I am not quite behind it. The theory was there with the draw cards, but it makes me think that I should have went with my gut playing Inzectors. However, I don't know the Inzector combos, so that's a different story for a different day. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this format/tournament review. Remember to like, comment, subscribe down below, and keep a lookout later today because the Edison format tournament that we've been hosting should start posting daily from now on. All right. Have a good one, Duelists.